Before we serve communion here this morning, we want to take an opportunity to find out if there are any questions or comments from this morning. Yes.
I think it's hard because in heaven it says there will be no more tears, there will be no more crying, no more mourning, or no more pain. So how can people be looking at the earth, because it seems like that would make people cry, or heaven,
Yeah.
It doesn't say there's no more anger, I guess, but it's
Yeah.
hard to.
The best I can do with that is it doesn't actually say there won't be any, or the passage I'm thinking about says that he'll wipe away the tears. It seems like you have to have tears to wipe away if they're going to be wiped away. So I think there's another passage that says there'll be no more crying, I think. But, do you have it? Yeah, read it, yeah.
He'll wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more, neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain anymore, for the former things have passed away.
That's what, yeah. So it sounds to me like there's a process there. It's not like an instantaneous thing. So I think this is what goes on over time is what happens. It sounds like there's initial crying, but after a while there will not be any. Is the best I can do with that. Somebody else may have a view of that or opinion on that. See, I never say that when I'm confident of the answer, but you always tell me. But that is the best I can do with that, especially in the light of this passage this morning. Yes, Dave.
What's your take on under the altar? On the saints are under the altar?
Yeah, it seems to me that that's a picture. I think what's happening there is that we are either going to, the altar, the blood on the altar, the oxen, the sheep, and so forth. That was a picture, obviously, of Christ. Certainly the sheep and the lamb certainly was. And we see the lamb showing up again in the book of Revelation again and again as we go forward. We see the lamb showing up. It seems to me that we have a picture there when he says under the altar. I think what John's doing is saying is, look, you are either going to accept the real sacrifice that occurred, or if you don't, then you're going to sacrifice pretty much everything else. And so he's saying under the altar there, these are people that have sacrificed their own lives, which is going to happen when people are wicked, when powerful people become wicked. If they don't believe or accept the sacrifice of Christ, they're going to find other sacrifices. We see this in, I know I've referenced this before, historian Otto Scott, who wrote about this very thing. He wrote about the fact that all 12 of the original apostles, all of them, as they went out, and if you've read anything about the original 12 apostles, they were in Jerusalem for a little while, but they all went to different places. They went to Southern Europe. They went to India. Thomas, for example, got killed in India. They went to Northern Africa. They went to Asia Minor. They went out, and in every case, they ran into human sacrifice. Every single case. 12 out of 12, human sacrifice. And Otto Scott goes to talk about that a little bit and talks about the fact that some people denied it, and it was Lord Acton, who's a favorite of mine at least, actually wound up writing a 15-page paper to disabuse those who doubted it. It was a fact. Human sacrifice existed. I think there's more going on there, but I think John is at least showing us that if we don't accept the sacrifice of Christ, we will sacrifice everything else, including our neighbors. I think there's more there, but I think that's part of it.
That is the first time the word altar comes up in Revelation, right?
As far as I know, it is. Yes. As far as I know, it's the first time. And it's this controversy there about it because one writer was kind of interesting. He believes that Revelation was written in like 95 AD after the destruction of the temple. But then he admits, he says, well, but we have an altar here that was in the temple. So he says it might have been written before the temple was destroyed after all. I thought that was kind of an interesting comment. Had to give him credit for his honesty there. Tough passage. Yes, John.
on that altar, obviously, as you said, the sacrifices represented Christ's sacrifice for us. We're covered by that. And so those in heaven are all under the altar in the sense that they're covered by Christ's sacrifice.
No doubt about it. There's no other way to get to heaven other than through Christ. No question. Okay. We'll ask John to come up.